Hi everyone, I'm Mina from Susan's family. Today I'm bringing you a Ginkgo scarf. This scarf includes the leaves, main part and sewing together. First, crochet the leaves. Then crochet the main part. And finally sew the leaves onto the main part. The yarn used for this scarf is of variegated yarn. The starting position for crocheting varies. The finished product will look different. You can refer to the sample or choose based on your preference. Starting crocheting from the light or dark end. The leaves are divided into large leaves and small leaves. There are two colors, light and dark. When crocheting, take yarn from both the outer ring and center of the skein. Crochet the corresponding number of leaves according to the chart. For large leaves, start with a foundation chain method. Work back and forth along the starting chain. Before beginning crocheting. First, let's get familiar with the chart. In the chart, H plus a number indicates the row number. The increases and decreases explanation column shows the stitch techniques needed. For crocheting the current row, including increases and decreases. The stitches used include CH chain, SL slip stitch, X for single crochet, XSC. Watch me demonstrate the specific crocheting method. Start from one end of the yarn curve. To make it easier for everyone to see clearly, I'll demonstrate using cotton yarn. For specific yarn, color schemes and hook sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. First, cast on. Cast on is 10CH, which means the casting on method is a foundation chain. Chain 10, pick up the yarn tail with your right hand, wrap it around your left little finger. Pass through between the middle finger and index finger. Pinch the yarn tail with your left thumb and middle finger. Pick up the crochet hook with your right hand, and let the hook move between these 2 points. Place the hook underneath the yarn and make a counterclockwise wrap. Pinch the crossing point of the loop with your left thumb and middle finger. Then position the hook to the left side of the yarn, and make a counterclockwise wrap. Draw through the loop. Tighten the yarn tail. Note, the loop on the hook should be slightly loose. This makes crocheting easier later. The starting knot does not count as a stitch. Next, begin crocheting chain stitches, yarn over and draw the yarn through. 1 chain stitch is done. This braid represents 1 stitch. The 2 sides of the braid on the right side are called half stitches. The carried yarn on the wrong side is called the mountain ridge. Place a stitch marker on it. This is the first stitch of the foundation chain. When crocheting with the original yarn, note that there is a main yarn and a thin strand. While crocheting, draw both strands through together. Continue crocheting chain stitches. Yarn over and draw the yarn through. This is the second stitch. Third stitch. Fourth stitch. Fifth stitch. Repeat this process until you complete 10 chain stitches. Note, don't make the foundation chain too tight. After completing, place a stitch marker on the mountain ridge of the second to last chain stitch. Note, the loop on the hook does not count as a stitch. The foundation chain is now complete. Next is reverse 2, which means starting crocheting from the second to last stitch, the one marked by the stitch marker. Insert the hook into the back ridge of the chain stitch. Pull the yarn through. This creates an incomplete single crochet, with 2 loops now on the hook. Continue by inserting the hook into the front loop of the adjacent stitch to the left. If you find it difficult to insert the hook into the front loop, it might be because the foundation chain was too tight. It's recommended to adjust your tension and redo the foundation chain. Pull the yarn through. This is the second incomplete single crochet. Continue inserting the hook into the front loop of the adjacent stitch. Complete the third incomplete single crochet. There are now 4 loops on the hook. Then begin the decrease by working 2 stitches together. First, place a stitch marker on the yarn picked up by the index finger. Then, push the stitch marker to the bottom. Pinch the foundation chain and the stitch marker, then yarn over above the stitch marker. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. There are now 3 loops on the hook, with the stitch marker secured on the stitch just worked. Yarn over again. Pull through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and draw through all the loops in once. There is now 1 loop remaining on the hook, completing the first row. Now let's take a look at the part we just crocheted. We consider the side with neater and more regular texture, facing us as the right side of the fabric. That is, the side where the yarn tail for starting chain is on the left-hand side. Looking from above, you can see there is a carried yarn on each stitch. We also call this carried yarn the front loop. And when crocheting later, pick up this yarn, which is the front loop. The stitch marker marks the position of the front loop, at the far left end of this row. Next, place another stitch marker on the front loop at the far right end. There are 3 front loops in this row. Next, crochet the second row. Make a chain stitch. Start from the second chain from hook, which is the front loop at the far right end marked by the stitch marker. Work an incomplete single crochet. Insert the hook into the front loop. There is also a front loop behind the turning chain. Pay attention not to pick the wrong position. You can remove the stitch marker. This is the first stitch. During the crocheting process, if the loops feel too tight to insert the hook, you can first pick it up with a sewing needle. Continue to pick up the next front loop. This is the second stitch. Then work the third incomplete single crochet. Now you've reached the front loop at the far left end of the first row, which is the stitch marked by the stitch marker. Remove the stitch marker. This is the third stitch. Next, work the fourth incomplete single crochet. This stitch is worked into the front loop of the starting chain. Insert the hook into the front loop of the sixth chain in the foundation chain, which is to the left of the insertion point of the last incomplete single crochet in the first row. Be mindful not to work into the front loop that has already been crocheted. Now the fourth incomplete single crochet is completed. Continue working the fifth incomplete single crochet into the adjacent front loop. There are now 6 loops on the hook. Finally, for the decrease, first place a stitch marker on the yarn. Yarn over above the stitch marker. Pull through 2 loops at once, repeat 5 times. Until only 1 loop remains on the hook. Then place a stitch marker on the front loop at the far right end. Now the second row is completed. Next, work the third row by making a chain stitch. Then begin from the second chain from the hook, which is where the stitch marker is. Work 5 incomplete single crochets into the front loops. Complete the front loop marked by the stitch marker on the leftmost side of the second row. Continue working 2 incomplete single crochets into the front loops of the starting chain. There are now 8 loops on the hook. When there are many loops, be mindful to keep all loops on the hook while crocheting. If the loops feel too loose, gently tighten the yarn on your left index finger. Tighten the loops to prevent them from slipping off. Finally, decrease by working 2 together and retreat, first place, a stitch marker. Begin retreating, repeat 7 times. Then place a stitch marker on the front loop at the far right end. Mark the beginning and ending front loops of each retreating row with stitch markers to avoid losing your place. Once you're comfortable with crocheting, you may skip marking, no further reminders will be given. Now the third row is completed. Continue working the fourth row. Make a chain stitch. Start from the second chain from the hook, and work 4 incomplete single crochets into the front loops. Then decrease by working 2 together and retreat. Now the fourth row is completed. Then make the beginning chain stitch for the fifth row. The number before X indicates how many single crochets to work. Here it means 3 single crochets. First work 1 single crochet into the marked stitch. Work 1 incomplete single crochet into the front loop. With 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and draw through in once. Now 1 single crochet is completed. Continue to the next stitch, work 1 incomplete single crochet into the front loop. Then yarn over and draw through in once. This completes the second single crochet. Continue working 1 single crochet into the adjacent front loop. After completing, work 6 incomplete single crochets. Decrease by working 2 together and retreat. Repeat 6 times. Now the fifth row is completed. Next, work the sixth row. First make 4 chain stitches. Start from the second chain from the hook. Work 9 incomplete single crochets into the front loops. After finishing the 3 stitches on the chain, continue working into the front loops of the previous row. There are many loops here, be mindful not to drop any stitches. After completing, there are 10 loops on the hook, then decrease by working 2 together and retreat. Repeat 9 times. The 6th row is completed. Continue to work the 7th row, first make a chain stitch. Start from the second front loop from the hook. Work 4 incomplete single crochets. Then decrease by working 2 together and retreat. The 7th row is completed. Next, work the 8th row. First make a chain stitch. Start from the second front loop from the hook. Work 4 incomplete single crochets. Continue to pick up the front loops of the 6th row. Work 3 incomplete single crochets. Then decrease by working 2 together and retreat. The 8th row is completed. Next, work the 9th row. First make a chain stitch. Start from the second front loop from the hook, work 5 incomplete single crochets. Then decrease by working 2 together and retreat. The 9th row is completed. Finally, work the 10th row. First, make a chain stitch. Start from the second front loop from the hook, work 3 single crochets. Next, work 7 slip stitches. Pick up adjacent front loops. Pull the yarn through. Pull through all loops on the hook in once. 1 slip stitch is completed. A braid is formed above. Continue to pick up the last front loop of the 9th row, work a slip stitch. Insert. Pull the yarn through. Pull through all loops on the hook in once. The second slip stitch is completed. Next, pick up these 2 front loops of the 8th row. Work a slip stitch. Then move to the 7th row. Pick up these 2 front loops and slip stitch. This is the 6th slip stitch. Then skip the last stitch of the 6th row. Insert directly into the front loop of the first chain stitch. Work a slip stitch. This is the 7th slip stitch. The specific insertion point and stitch count for the slip stitches here can also be adjusted according to actual situation. A difference of 1 or 2 stitches in slip stitch count is fine, as long as the fabric piece is flat and neat. Finally, crochet 8 chain stitches. The exact number can be adjusted based on preference. You can weave in ends while crocheting, pick up the starting yarn tail, and place it above the yarn. Once completed, the 10th row is done. Then work 1 chain stitch to secure. Cut off the excess starting yarn tail. Leave about 10 centimeters of yarn tail, and cut the yarn. Up to this point, the large leaf is completed crocheting. Next, refer to the pattern chart to crochet the required quantity and colors of large leaves, set them aside once finished. The crocheting method for small leaves is similar to large leaves, only differing in stitch count and row numbers. Next I'll demonstrate the crocheting method for small leaves briefly. No stitch markers will be used during this demonstration. You may choose whether to continue using them based on your skill level. Please watch the demonstration. Start with a foundation chain of 7 stitches. Then insert the hook into the second chain from hook. Work 2 incomplete single crochets. Finally, work 2 together and pull through, repeat twice. The first row is done, move on to the second row. Work 1 chain stitch. Starting from the second chain from hook, work 3 incomplete single crochets. For the third stitch, remember to insert the hook into the back loop of the corresponding chain stitch. Then work 2 together and pull through, repeat 3 times. The second row is completed, continue to the third row, work 1 chain stitch first. Starting from the second chain from hook, work 5 incomplete single crochets. Then work 2 together and pull through. The third row is done, move on to the fourth row, work 1 chain stitch. Starting from the second chain from hook, work 2 single crochets. Continue to pick up the back loops and work 4 incomplete single crochets. Finally, work 2 together and pull through. Next, work the 5th row, start with 3 chain stitches. Starting from the 2nd chain from hook, work 6 incomplete single crochets. Then pull through. The 5th row is done. Continue to the 6th row. Work 1 chain stitch. Starting from the 2nd chain from hook, work 5 incomplete single crochets. Then pull through. The 6th row is completed. Next, work the 7th row, start with 1 chain stitch. Starting from the 2nd chain from hook. Work 3 incomplete single crochets. Pull through 3 times. The 7th row is completed. Finally, work the 8th row. Work 1 chain stitch. Starting from the 2nd chain from hook, work 2 single crochets. Then pick up the back loop. Correspondingly make 5 slip stitches. Join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the beginning chain. The placement and number of slip stitches can be adjusted according to preference. Finally, work 6 chain stitches, or work a chain of preferred length for edging, and weave in ends. After completion, secure with 1 chain stitch. Cut off the starting yarn tail. Leave a tail of about 10 centimeters and break the yarn. This completes the 8th row. Up to this point, the small leaf is finished. Next, refer to the chart to work the required number and colors of small leaves, then set them aside for later use. This concludes the leaf instructions. Now we'll work the main part back and forth using chain stitches and casting on. The stitches used include chain, double crochet, and treble crochet. Next, watch me demonstrate the specific crocheting method. First, make a foundation chain. Refer to the pattern for the exact number of chains. Mindful not to work too tight. After completing the cast on, place a stitch marker in the front loop of the first and last stitch. Next, work the first row from left to right according to the chart, starting with 3 chain stitches as beginning chain. Then work a double crochet in the 4th stitch from the end. Yarn over once, insert the hook into the marked stitch. Pull the yarn through. There are now 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over. Draw through the first 2 loops, leaving 2 loops remaining. Yarn over and draw through in once. 1 double crochet is completed. The braid on the upper right is the stitch of the double crochet. You can place a marker. Repeat the previous steps, yarn over. Insert the hook into the adjacent front loop. Pull the yarn through. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops, repeat twice. The second double crochet is completed. Continue with 1 double crochet in each stitch. Crochet all the way to the first chain stitch of the foundation chain. Place a marker on the last double crochet stitch. The marked position indicates the first and last stitch of this row. The first row is completed. Check that the number of double crochets matches the number of foundation chains. Note that the turning chain does not count as a stitch. Now begin the second row by chaining 4 as the turning chain. On the 4th chain stitch. Pick up the front loop and the back loop of the previous row, placing one stitch marker through both loops. This makes it convenient to find the insertion point later. Continue with one chain stitch. Turn the work counterclockwise. Then work a treble crochet into the last double crochet of the first row. Work a treble crochet, yarn over twice. Insert the hook into the stitch corresponding to the turning chain. Note, this is the wrong side of the stitch pattern. The stitch is at the upper left, which is the position marked by the stitch marker. Draw the yarn through. There are now 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. 3 loops remain, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops again. 2 loops remain, yarn over and draw through in once. 1 treble crochet is complete. The braid on the upper right is the stitch of the treble crochet. Work another treble crochet, yarn over twice. Insert into the same stitch. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops one after another. Repeat 3 times. The second treble crochet is completed in the same position. Work 2 more treble crochets. Then work 2 chain stitches. Skip 5 stitches. Work a single crochet in the 6th double crochet. Continue with 2 chain stitches. Skip 5 stitches. Work 4 treble crochets in the next double crochet. Two chain stitches. Continue working 4 treble crochets in the same position. We call these 4 treble crochets, 2 chain stitches, and 4 treble crochets a fan pattern. Counting from the first stitch on the left side of the fan pattern, skip 5 stitches. Work a single crochet. Skip 5 stitches. Work a fan pattern. After completing, work 2 chain stitches. Skip 5 stitches. A single crochet. 2 chain stitches. Skip 5 stitches. At this point, you should have reached the last stitch of the first row, which is the position marked by the stitch marker. Work 4 treble crochets. One chain stitch. And a treble crochet. This completes the second row. We consider the clearer texture side of the fan pattern row as the right side of the fabric, which is the side with the yarn tail on the right hand. Next, work the third row, chain 1 to begin. Turn the work. Now, the wrong side of the fabric is facing you. Work a single crochet in the last treble crochet of the previous row. You can place a stitch marker on the stitch. In the left chain space, work a single crochet. Continue with 3 chain stitches. Then work a treble crochet in the single crochet. Two chain stitches. And a treble crochet. We call these 2 treble crochets, and the chain space in between on the single crochet, a V-shaped pattern. Continue with 3 chain stitches. Work a single crochet in the middle chain space of the fan pattern. One chain stitch. And a single crochet. We call these 3 stitches in the chain space a single crochet pattern. Continue crocheting with a pattern of 3 chain stitches between working V-shaped patterns on single crochets, and single crochet patterns on fan patterns. After completing the last 3 chain stitches, in the final chain space, work a single crochet. Then on the beginning chain, which is the 4th chain marked by the stitch marker just now, pick up 2 strands and work a single crochet. This completes the third row. Next, crochet the fourth row. Another beginning chain. Turn the work piece. Now the right side of the work piece is facing you. Work a single crochet in the last single crochet of the previous row. Mark the stitch. Then work 2 chain stitches. In the chain space of the V-shaped pattern from the previous row, work a fan pattern. Two chain stitches. On the left single crochet pattern, work a single crochet in the middle space. Two chain stitches. This row alternates working fan patterns on V-shaped patterns, and single crochets on single crochet patterns. 2 chain stitches as a transition between them. Continue following this pattern according to the chart until the row is completed. After finishing the last 2 chain stitches, work a single crochet in the ending single crochet. Row 4 is now complete. Continue to crochet row 5. Work 5 chain stitches. On the 4th chain stitch, pick up these 2 strands and place a stitch marker. Work a treble crochet in the single crochet. Three chain stitches. This row follows a similar pattern to the third row, still working single crochet motifs on the fan shapes. Between V-shaped motifs on single crochets, skip 3 chain stitches. Continue crocheting following this pattern. When reaching the last single crochet, one chain stitch. This completes row 5. Now you can measure the current dimensions. If the width and height of the first 5 rows differ significantly from the pattern dimensions, adjust your tension and rework to avoid running out of yarn and affecting the finished product size. Continue to row 6. Chain 4 as beginning chain. Once you become familiar with the pattern, you'll easily identify the beginning and ending insertion points. You may skip using markers as we won't mention them again later. For this swatch, we won't mark anything, continue with one chain stitch as transition. Turn the work. In the chain space, work 4 treble crochets. After completing, chain 2. Then follow the pattern of row 4 to finish this row. After completing the last single crochet, chain 2. Work 4 treble crochets in the chain space. Chain 1. In the 4th stitch of the beginning chain, which is where the stitch marker is placed, insert the hook into the middle of the braid. Pick up the half loop and the inner strand, work 1 treble crochet. This completes row 6. We'll consider rows 3 through 6 as one sequence. Continue following this 4-row repeating pattern. When finishing the second to last row, note that row counts in the pattern are approximate since every iron's tension varies. You can adjust the scarf length based on remaining yarn and personal preference. Pay attention to matching the pattern of the second to last row with the chart. Now I'll demonstrate the last row. First chain 3 as beginning chain. Turn the work. Then work 2 double crochets in the last 2 single crochets of the previous row. Work 3 double crochets in the 3 chain spaces. Work 1 double crochet in the V-shaped pattern's chain space, and 1 double crochet on each of the 2 treble crochets, totaling 3 double crochets. Continue working 3 double crochets in the 3 chain spaces. Work 3 double crochets on the single crochet pattern. If the pattern doesn't match the chart after adjusting rows, adjust the insertion point yourself while keeping the double crochet count consistent with the chart. Continue crocheting according to the chart until this row is completed. Check after finishing the last stitch. The total stitches of this row match the first row. The beginning chain still doesn't count as a stitch? Secure with a chain stitch after confirming. Cut the yarn. Weave the yarn tail into the fabric. You can tuck in a few more stitches. Trim the excess yarn tail. This completes the main part of the scarf. After finishing both the leaves and main part, we need to sew the leaves onto both ends of the main part. Position the leaves as shown in the finished product, place light-colored leaves on the light end, and dark-colored leaves on the dark end. Each end has one large leaf with 8 stitches between them. Alternate large and small leaves in the arrangement. You can also adjust according to your preference. Watch me demonstrate the specific sewing method. Place both the main part and leaves with the right side facing you. Thread the previously left yarn tail from the leaf ending into the sewing needle. At the corresponding position of the starting chain, chain stitch, or last row. And on the last chain stitch of the leaf ending. Sew back and forth a few times to secure. For the swatch, the sewing position is random. Then weave in the yarn tail along the texture of the fabric. Finally, cut off the excess yarn tails. This sewing method is for reference only. You can also choose your preferred way to sew. Continue attaching the remaining leaves to the main part. Complete it as you like. That concludes the sewing explanation. Up to this point, the entire scarf explanation is complete. If you have any unclear points during crocheting, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's family supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you later.